welcome everybody to the Esports Arena Apex Legends Weekly. This is the European edition. I'm James Jamerson Lee, and of course, joining me, I've got once again Big Hungry Phil. How are you doing this week?
I'm good, thanks, buddy. I was wondering for a second there if you'd memorized my name enough to do the same way you'd introduce yourself, but it doesn't matter. I'm not going to hold it against you. Yeah, glad to be here. Exciting lobby today. Looking at the teams we've got lined up, obviously fresh off the back of the ALGS 6 this weekend just gone, and noticeable team absence with that in mind. We don't have a full strength Nasky, Strafe, and Dell in the lobby today. Just one representative, Nasky, currently playing with a bit of a mixed set.
Yeah, we had, I believe, 26 teams total sign up, and understandable. It was a really long weekend, especially the ALGS weekend, running Saturday and Sunday straight, just like that. Now, of course, we got to talk about how we got here. And so, like I said, we had 26 teams. We had two separate lobbies of 13 teams. Only the top 10 from each lobby moved on. But how do they score their points, and how do we realize who's going to be moving on to the top 10, Phil?
So the basic breakdown is, and it's a breakdown that we're going to be following through into this finals bracket as well, is points for placement. So 12 if you finish at the top and then slowly descending down from there. And then points for every kill that you can rack up as well. So you can have an incredibly poor placement and get lots of kills early in the game. It's a weird circumstance, but you can make your way through the bracket that way. Normally a lot more common to get a sort of middle placing for both and climb up the bracket that way. But thinking about how we got here, I want to look specifically at Triumph, who have had a really, really strong run through the 3 qualifier rounds. Very high scoring. I think a couple of rounds where they finished first, as well as getting in the region of 10 kills each. So I think Triumph are really going to be a team to watch this week, particularly with Nasky, Strafe, and Dell out of the running today.
Yeah, but we still have an entirely stacked lobby. We got Purge, North, AHG, Cooler, everyone basically EU stacked. Okay, I've given
Best
it up
region
in the past before. You know, for Overwatch, I said EU's nuts. NA we're good, but EU's nuts. And you know what's nuts about EU is that you guys don't mess around with the meta. The meta doesn't mean anything. You guys try so much. So I'm really excited to see what kind of compositions that we'll see. Now we got to see a taste of it this weekend, but a lot of teams have already been making some adjustments coming into this tournament, even though we've only had one day of scrims afterwards.
That's right. One of the adaptations that we're starting to see, and certainly saw a little bit in ALGS and scrims in the, day and a half, couple of days following ALGS, is the swapping out of the Wraith. So we're having these Wraithless compositions come in with the Watson, the Pathfinder, and the Gibraltar in instead. And I think some teams are still kind of finding their feet with how this works and how the rotations are different and not having the utility that the Wraith can bring. But it's starting to show some real signs of success. For all you're saying that we don't mess around too much with the meta, I mean, we've still got those, six principal legends up at the top, and there's a little bit of swapping and a little bit of swipping, but it's generally those 6 in one of these 3-4 key combinations. So, we maybe play a little bit fast and loose, but not so fast and loose that we're going to be seeing anything particularly wacky. I'm not expecting to see any Bloodhounds in the lobby today or anything like that.
Shame. I would love to see some Bloodhound. Honestly, like in my regular ranked matches, I just got to plat, by the way. So it's a little bit of a climb. It's a little bit of a climb, but honestly, it feels like you can play any legend right now in ranked. In ranked, at the very least, they're all feeling really fun. Mirage is feeling fun. Bloodhound's always been kind of fun. You just have to realize, you're gonna get domed. You're gonna get hit in the head a lot. That head hitbox is absolutely nuts on them. But
it's pretty punishing.
Definitely here, though, in competitive, not quite the case. It's going to take a few more tweaks and before a lot more of the legends are in line to be able to be played competitively. But right now, we're just waiting for a few more players to join the lobby so we can get game number 1 started. Now, it is, of course, a 4-game set to decide our overall winner. And only our top 3 will be splitting our grand prize.
That's right. That's right. And of course, we went over the scoring a little earlier today, and it is a $1,000 cash prize. The bulk of that going to team number 1. So these guys, we were talking about this a little bit before the games, before we were in the lobby ready to go today. Some teams kind of see this as a little bit of it's a scrim where there is the opportunity for you to get some money out of it if you have a particularly good scrim. So we may see some teams start to experiment with things now that ALGS is behind us and we can stretch our wings a little bit as a community. But I still think we're going to be seeing a lot of very standard play here today. To touch on what we were talking about just a couple of minutes ago with the whether or not we're going to see any Bloodhound in the lobby, and I think it's very unlikely. One of the reasons that we don't see it at this high level is because the understanding of the game is so much better, and the understanding of the rotations and the pathing you have to take to get certain places and what utility you require is so much higher in this organized style of play. When we have a much more chaotic ladder environment, you can get a lot more value out of, for example, being able to track down your opponent or being able to ping a building and see where people are hiding. But it's just unlikely to really crack this top strategic level that we have in tournament play.
Yeah, really excited to see exactly what kind of develops. Again, while like you said, this is really sweaty scrims at this point.
I don't think I quite said that, but sure.
In more or less words, these are really sweaty scrims, and so of course, like in all competitions, everyone wants to win, and but they're still going to try out some new things. I hope so, at the very least. So hoping to see maybe some more cryptos. We got to see a little bit of that during the ALGS. We even got to see some compositions out of some of our younger teams, I would say. And by younger, I just mean it was one of our first times seeing them in the ALGS finals. We got to see Lifeline. Lifeline Caustic Gibraltar comp coming out from one of our teams, and they quickly became one of my favorites just because they were running something just completely outlandish and nothing like something that you would never have expected. Again, right now we are having an issue getting another player into the lobby, and so as soon as we get that fixed up, we will be getting into game number 1. Again, $1,000 on the line, but if you at home want to contribute to the prize pool, of course you can. You just all you have to do is type in !contribute. That'll send you over to the Matcherino page for this tournament, and you can contribute to help aid to the prize pool. And it's just that simple. So thank you to anyone who does. Really appreciate it here because, of course, there are a lot of unsigned players too, and so getting this nice big win would be huge for them.
It's a big return on investment if you can get even up to third place. It's not a lot of money to come and take part in this and secure a position here, and it can certainly buy you a nicer class of takeaway for a couple of weeks if you can get that money distributed between the rest of your team. Probably worth noting as well that as well as the Apex tournament that we've got running today, there are a whole host of other tournaments being run by Esports Arena throughout the week. So hop onto social media, come and find the Esports Arena Twitter, for example, and you'll get a nice rundown of what other events you can take part in. I believe we've had Halo 2v2s, sorry, not Halo, Gears of War 2v2s recently. There's a regular Smash Bros. Tournament, so plenty of stuff to come and get involved in, guys, not just Apex, although, of course, I'm sure you guys are all here just for the Apex today.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get me on that Minecraft, we'll do some Hunger Games or something. I'll definitely sign up right there.
I don't think I've ever met a caster who hasn't said, "Oh, I'd love to cast some Minecraft Hunger Games."
Dude,
like it just
I would
seems like
love to.
Yeah, it'd be great.
The
holy grail of
casting. I will pay you to let me cast this, please. 1.16 is going to be so nuts. But we got to talk about Apex Legends here. Interesting thing. So recently, of course, a lot of people saw it on Twitter. I believe it was Josh Medina or someone from the Apex dev team tweeted out that there should be changes coming to the gold knockdown shield. Gold knockdown shield has been the bane of many teams, many top 3 teams in a lot of our lobbies.
There's certainly been a lot of griping about it in the community. The fact that if you have lucked out in finding a gold knockdown shield, sometimes that's what secures you the win. If you're down into the final 2 teams and you're both knocked down by the ring or by return fire or whatever, whoever has the gold knockdown shield automatically gets the win. It's just how this works. And in terms of competitive integrity, it's maybe a little bit suboptimal. So great to know that the devs are actually working on getting that out of the game, especially as they were so quick to move on some of the other gold items in the game.
Yeah, and really, in the competitive community, we all kind of just feel, just get it out of the tournaments. We're not saying remove them from the game. Get them out of the tournaments. We don't want them in the tournaments. That's it. Right. So for anyone who's saying, "Oh, look at the pros always dictating where the game goes," that's not anything we're saying at all. Or look at me saying I'm a pro. whatever. I'm not. I'm crap at the game, by the way. But
wow,
they're
guys.
just saying, just remove it from competitive gameplay because no one wants to see that, right?
Jameson, do you know what I'd love? Like, as a suggestion, if you play Mario Kart, you can just like turn on and off items individually, or turn them all on and crazy amounts of them on. Like, let's just have a lobby setting where we can, let's turn off gold knockdown shield, let's turn off gold armor, but also let's just see what the game looks like if we crank everything up to 11 and give everybody
blue shells for everybody.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd love that.
Could you imagine Blue Shell in Apex Legends? It's just like,
oh gosh,
he's got position. Okay, throw the Blue Shell, and then I don't know what it would do. Like swap your positions. It's like, oh, we stole their spot. But it looks like, hey, we got it. Game number 1 is underway. Let's get right into it, guys. As again, it is a 4-game set, and just like the ALGS, we are going to be playing it here on World's Edge. Once again, Kings Canyon will make its debut back into competitive at a later date. Taking a look at this drop, we've got Nasky, Epsilon, and Otter. That's not something I'm used to saying, by the way. Nasky,
that's not an easy to pronounce team name.
Yeah, Nasky, Strafendel. Everyone's kind of gotten used to saying it. But we've got a contested drop, it looks like, over here at Epicenter.
Yeah, this is going to be a dangerous line, but that's a nice early pickup, getting the Havoc first out the gate as well. White armor, not fantastic, but you can see Otter's already taking some damage.
Yeah, it's honestly about one person getting ready to fight. Otter dropped down to 10 HP. It's Alliance dropping on them. They do trade away 1 for 1, though, and so in this early fight, he's got an armor swap to work with.
Oh, no.
He takes so much damage from behind now, pushing forward with that Havoc, not able to lay in the shots, but there's so much going on as Hakus gets finished off. They secure that, and it looks like a third party might be coming in, or is it just Epsilon with the crossfire being set up? Nasky finds one out, pushes forward, tries to get the spray down, will be able to finish him off. Alliance go down first.
Now, that was really, really close there for a second. Otter going down, and it looked like Otter actually went down before he even got the chance to pick up anything particularly of use. Yeah, you can see no armor available for Otter at all. So that was a really good effort there from Alliance to get in and get that advantage, particularly taking out the Gibraltar so that you don't have that dome to get quick frays or to hide from incoming enemy fire. Was a really, really great pickup. It's just, I guess, a shame for those guys. They were coming up against Nasty because they were just able to reposition around them so quickly and find the kills, even when taking damage from the high ground behind them. The rotation was there to bring them back into safety and get themselves ready to go in the fight again. So they will be at full strength and ready for the next fight.
Talking about the next fight, it looks like North over here at Overlook onto one themselves as they do trade away at the very least. 1 for 1. Taishin trying to take the push up top, has to back away. Mandy's going to try and cover here, but Zarif just drops right on top of him. Now he's getting naded out. They do get the res onto RPR, but they lose Taishin for it as Mandy now signs the retreat.
I mean, a little bit of a misstep there from Taishin. Kind of got the impression they knew somebody was up there and attempted to put down the pylon so that they get that advance warning and that bit of slow as they cross the pylon, but got caught in the middle of the animation and took a huge amount of damage. Even the good tracking that we saw from Taishin as they dropped back down and the attacker was coming towards them wasn't enough to secure them to kill. But that puts them in a position now where they may be recoverable, but it's going to be a 2v3 for North to try and make this happen. And that's never a fight that's particularly favorable for you. Instead, we're going to be seeing, I think from North, what we're seeing here is they understand that that body's well and truly camped at this point, and they can't go in and pick it up. If you are the team that took down Taishin, there's no harm at all if you just to stay there until it's no longer recoverable. You're guaranteeing yourself a point. You're guaranteeing yourself a potential 2v3 later in the game. But it looks like we're going to go over and have a look at Team Go, or Team GO.
Yeah, Gamers Origin over here at Lava City were able to clean up a team themselves, and this is what happens a lot of times in game number 1, right? Teams are establishing where their drop is, and so we'll be looking out in game number 2 to see if we're going to see the same kind of action here. Will Alliance get into fight with Nasky, Otter, and InStyle once again over there by Epicenter? Are we going to have that fight between North and I've already forgotten the team. I'm so sorry. Over at Overlook, and similarly here. Now this is interesting. Nasky, Otter, and Epsilon getting a lot of loot here. As we got to see, of course, they took both Epicenter and the outpost, or the campgrounds. I've already forgotten the name of it. The new location north of
Survey camp.
Yeah, there we go. Survey camp. There's a camp in there.
Yeah, you and most of the
and now they're going all the way over here to a refinery, which I thought a team was dropping here. But maybe it was, of course, Nasky's team just getting that quick hard pull down into refinery, or excuse me, into epicenter.
Well, another thing to consider is we're now what a couple of minutes into the game. Speaking of which, on board with Hexagon, and very quickly off board with Hexagon, just taking down the second we flip over to.
Yeah, not entirely too sure what was happening. They were fighting inside the caravan there, and I gotta imagine that maybe they were the team that were set up inside. And oftentimes, when you don't have enough teams rotating fast enough, as we're seeing a lot of teams pretty slow on this rotation, you don't have that same kind of pressure, that kind of deterrent that a lot of teams that can third party will offer you, right? If you've got a position that's out in the open, sure, it looks vulnerable, but that means any team pushing you is also vulnerable. This time around, that wasn't the case. There was no one there for them. YDN, though, controlling a nice choke point here north of Geyser.
Yeah, somebody has got a line on them, though, and actually it looks like they're going to be tackled from the top of the hill there, coming over the hill from the thermal station. Not too much connecting with them just yet.
The fear of getting pinched now, they start backing away, but Niso, he's got the highest health. He needs to stand and try and put a stop to them, but instead he just runs back. And his Watson is now going to go down, and they were trying to position for a building, but take a look. There are Watson traps everywhere.
Yeah, it seems like there are a lot of teams lined up in here, and Niso now completely on his own and taking a lot of flack as he attempts to reposition. Not looking good for YDN here. They're going to now have to try and recover both of these banners to be even in with a chance of taking this fight.
There are so many trades going across the board, but it looks like they might just be able to finish him off. No, he actually wards off that Pathfinder with 10 HP. Take a look at the kill feed right now, as so many players are going down. OG is wiped off the face of the map. Triumph is able to pick up a kill onto Horizon, and I feel like I might have seen someone from Triumph go down. There we go. It was. They did. There's at least a knock onto one of them, at the very least here. A lot of teams fighting
looks like Graceful. Yeah, this area feels already incredibly hotly contested. I mean, the ring is only just closing in now, but all of our teams, with a couple of exceptions, are now pulled over around Geyser. Normally, you're going to wait until the ring closes in a little bit before we get much more action, but at this point, just the general positioning is going to force people's hands here.
Yeah, I feel like there are a lot more Pathfinder teams than I think we're used to seeing in our EU lobbies, and that's kind of what you get. Everyone just runs towards the center of the circle here. They recognize that it is a Geyser circle. And again, when we were on board with YDN, I feel like they had a position they could have held instead of trying to commit onto a building on the low ground. That choke point can be extremely strong, but so is this spot being held by Weigers right here on the southeast side of Geyser.
Yeah, they've got the advantage here of being kind of on the outside of the fight. They've got the high ground. There's a lot of natural cover for them here, and they've got a nice wide spacing of what's on pilots now. So this space is entirely their fortress. Teams for the very near future have to come to them, and anybody that pokes their head out of a door is going to be running right into the path of Grubby here. So, you know, he has all of the control over all of these buildings and has everybody pinned down. So this is a great position for Weigers.
Now, I love what Nasky, Otter, and InStyle are doing here. Of course, they are one of the teams that are not a Pathfinder team, and they're looking for these fights on the edges. They want to be able to take them. They've got that Gibraltar advantage, they got to understand, over a lot of the teams. And so they just push aggressively, bubble up, and get ready to bubble fight right now, as it looks like they are trying to find this last person here. I'm pretty sure it's a solo. It looks like, oh no, it's a duo.
It's a duo, yeah. It's either two solos or a duo. Kind of hard to tell. They're a little bit spread out, but it looks like they've smelled the blood in the water, and they're starting to close the distance.
Yeah, they are absolutely spread apart. If we take a look at the minimap, they are just chasing one down. Might have given up the chase. Never mind. Nasky hits a nice 47 there, and he's going to go ahead and continue to push forward. He only saw the white armor.
Yeah, with not a great position. I'm afraid I can't quite catch who it is that is trapped over there in Fragment East. And Nasky, Otter, and everyone can kind of take their time here. That this lone player is not really a threat. There's nothing they can do. This lone player has to get out and just try and rat it out to try and get as many points as they can. And just hitting that W and just running as far away from Nasky is probably the best way to do that. But a nice couple of shots in onto the top of Nasky.
Yeah, but Otter does lay in. I was able to see. I actually had him up on my screen, and so that just completely stopped. And that's why Nasky, he pops into his queue and he just kind of stands still. He's not worried. They understand exactly the situation they're in, and so they are kind of approaching this in a measured style, even though they're hunting after just one person right now.
Well, one person, it's 1 point. It could be what separates you from the rest of the teams at the end of the day. It's unlikely. You've got to assume that they are not so hungry for this 1 point that they're just going to recklessly chase them into danger, because you can see, looking at Nasky, just the top right-hand corner there, lots of danger over there. Those are some Watson pylons. They're red. That means they're not friendly. That means that you are going to have to try and take a high ground position or sneak around past that high ground position if you want to get to a slightly more advantageous position for a fight.
Yeah, that was that choke point that we saw YDN get flanked at earlier and completely abandoned. And we see why a lot of teams like to hold it right there. Again, you can play for, of course, the kill points there. You're just hoping to catch people on the rotate where the ring starts pressuring them. But Nasky, Otter, and InStyle not under any pressure whatsoever, as they just completely sidestep it right into the vault cave.
Interesting. What's the likelihood they've actually got a vault key for this one? Do you think they've cared enough to go and find that and pick it up, or are we just happenstance over by the vault here?
I feel like the only teams that are ever able to get the vaults are like Team Liquid, any team that drops Train, because you do have the chance at getting that cargo bot that have it, and they are the ones that most reliably are able to get vaults. But yeah, we had JMK actually up there mid though in a fight, and they've already lost 2. Maz is still able to get rezzed, but it's all up to Sharp here. It's AHG that were on top of them.
Yeah, and AHG, one of these teams you were talking about just before we came into this, a little bit of a swap up here. Matafei currently on the Watson, going to say an aggressive player, currently playing very aggressively. We'll get the kill.
Finishing off Amaz, and now 4 kills on the board for Zippeth, and this is huge, and I love this. This is their style. I feel like this is something that Matafi is a little bit more used to, because he played so much of the Watson in their lineup before when they had Zerafer on the squad.
Still, a little bit of an adaptation coming in from what we've seen from this team recently. Got to expect it's going to take them a little while to adapt to these updated roles, but nice dive in from Zippeth. Wasn't quite able to get credit for that kill, but I love the aggression we saw from that guy.
Definitely had to try there. But I also love seeing Kuya, of course, on something that can be a bit more aggressive as well. I think he is, of course, a solid support, and his Watson looks fantastic. And having someone that's got great aim on your support, who can lay down damage, is huge. As we're now on board with North. They lost Haishin very early on. They were able to get Sandy back. Take a look. Massive not doing enough. That arm shield blocks so much damage. That might have been the knock. He goes in, hits it for 44, but no! The armor swap baited him out, and he will go down. 11 squads remaining, 30 players left in the lobby.
It's really unfortunate. It's one of the strange mechanical quirks of the way that Gibraltar's kit works, is that even if that arm shield has 1 HP of survivability left, it will block anything coming in. Like, it will block 10,000 points of damage if that was even a thing that is possible. So you can get value out of that right up until the final second, and we saw that used frankly massively between that and the armor swap, just to deny the damage that was coming in. And it was always going to be a difficult fight when you're in that 1v3. Made a pretty good go of it, but it just wasn't enough. It was never going to work out.
Massive in my hands, just I don't know how to use that weapon. I just can't hit the
Have
same.
You looked at the spray pattern? The spray pattern is bizarre, right? I don't think I've ever seen a gun in a game that fires just a line of pellets, like a straight line of pellets.
Yeah, it's basically like a triple take on steroids, right? Except it doesn't have the same range, right? Like it doesn't have the headshot multiplier beyond 50 meters, and the spread's much more weird, but you know, I used to use the triple take as a shotgun when I wasn't able to find like a PK or an EVA 8 in a lot of my early game fights.
It's a weird situation where you can use the PK as a sniper and the triple take as a shotgun. All guns are all things.
The triple take spread isn't as bad though, and of course, like with it, you also have to ADS if you want that nice tight spread. Ooh, we got a big fight. Triumph versus AHG right now. They traded away 1-for-1. Maybe going down along with Sipith here. As Matape has to back away. Kuya, Arcstar's coming in. Kuya barely surviving there. 30 HP. He gets the bat off. Nice spray down. Isn't going to be enough damage now as he goes down. That's actually going to be is that a third party coming in? No. We just swapped off. Okay. And so, yeah, Triumph will be able to finish that off.
So you saw Kuya there try and, well, he actually did successfully get that battery off, but in order to get into a sensible position to do that, had to go through a lot of damage through the thermite grenade and put themselves in a really disadvantageous position. We are back on board with Triumph. They're down a man, and it looks like they might be pinned in here.
We got 10 squads left, 27 players remaining. So that's one player accounted for in this lobby. Other teams that are missing, Cooler is currently missing Jules, and so we've got 2 duos, and unfortunately X-Kufu wasn't able to join the lobby. We tried to wait as long as we could for him, so that squad are also playing as a 2-man currently.
But hey, I mean, pretty good showing to be in the top 10. I don't want to flat out say that they're just hiding from the rest of the fight and hoping for the best, but hey, if you are down a man from the start, it's a pretty valid strategy. But look at the way that Triumph are currently playing them. They know they've got a relatively defensible position, and they've got armor swaps available to them. They've got the Watson shield generator there. They can hold out here for a long time. And if you look at the damage that we've currently got, the R99 and the Wingman currently for Mady, that's a huge amount of spray down potential. It's a huge amount of headshot burst potential. So these guys can afford even a man down to just wait this out, wait for the fight to come to them.
There is a 3-team kind of standoff on the western edge of the map right now. I don't know exactly who's involved in that, but that can be explosive. There's about 10 seconds before the ring starts closing right now. Triumph might be getting pushed, though, by Nasky Strafe. Excuse me, Nasky and Spell and Otter. It just rolls off the tongue. Like, yeah, that team name combination just rolls off the tongue. But it's actually Elitist getting into a fight here. They've already lost one. The Massive now, not enough damage, and that was the Massive that they inherited, of course, from the fight before against North. And it looks like it's just not doing enough damage for anyone. Back on board with Nasky as he tries to push forward. That Arcstar doing so much damage, he gets stuck! Somehow survives. Now he has to back away, though. Too much damage taken. Pops that Q to get into his building now. And now that fight is just over.
Yeah, that was very close there for Nasky. You almost saw him think better of getting out of there. You saw him bring out the thermite, ready to try and just block off the line of retreat. You can almost see the comms of like, no, don't take this fight, don't take this fight. Let's back up, reset, let's get our health back up and go in for the next fight. And I think that might have been the situation. Karma Heads prevailing there might have been a sensible way to play this, because now they're back in a defensible position. We can see that there are still kills and knockdowns coming through on the kill feed, so every second they spend waiting here is more points on the board for them in terms of placements.
And Chayemka have not had to leave their nest. Of course, X-Crow Crowd have been stuck up here. Well, not stuck. They've been up here of their own volition for quite some time now. But that pole coming out from the ring, dropping all the way to the south side of Geyser, this is going to be a difficult rotation, as we already see that both of these buildings ahead of them have players, and they have to contend with, of course, the team that are just immediately below them now. Now, how do they do that? Well, of course, they've got the Wraith Portal to work with, and ultimately, they've got the failsafe of a Gibraltar Bubble.
Yeah, they're actually pretty safe in this rotation. Looking at it just in terms of we've got to get into one of these buildings, it is maybe not the ideal way to take it, because they can just get out of that. It seems like we're going to swap over to BDS, and these guys are looking kitted out. Look at the armor for these guys. Skullpiercer rifling on the Wingman. This is a great position, particularly as this ring is going to start to close in and drag people over towards them.
It looks like with the traps that they have set up right now that we can see, they have full control over this boat and this building here. Psych Cop! Good damage, but he does have to back away, and we get to see the strength of the new gold armor now. 1 cell, 50 HP healed off of that, and of course they've even got the Watson Jenny on top to really work that out. 7 squads remaining, 19 players left here as the ring closes.
And again, though, for BDS, you can see them popping out just to take pot shots here, and that's a nice amount of damage out from Psycho. It's not going to be enough to secure anything, but if they can stop people moving in as the ring advances onto them, that's going to be great for them. Instead, it's a drop down here.
Yeah, Psychop realizes, of course, with that good headshot that he got, having that skull piercer, he was able to deter that team that was just south of them. So he goes for the peek now, but he might have bitten off a little bit more than he could chew. Has to get inside here as his armor's almost cracked. But Krema is still up top, trying to get some damage off. Chisachi through the window, getting a knock on to Rugby, now pushing up on top. Psychop with the wingman, having a little bit of difficulty, but he hits that last shot. Will be able to finish off Otter. That's Nasty Otter and Epsilon's in style out here, as Purge will fall as well. Now we're down to the final 5 squads.
Yeah, back on board the Chimkin. I was like you. I was getting ready to criticize that aggression that we saw coming out, getting onto the high ground, trying to sink the teeth into the Gibraltar Dome, but they just pushed through. They found the damage, and they took the advantageous position of being inside the Gibraltar Dome, exactly where they had control of the enemy position, and it worked out brilliantly for them. They're still in a fantastic position, and Rug taking a bit of a flak on the way in is going to get knocked down.
They do have the Gibraltar bubble to work with. Blue armors across the board, though. With the Guardian Angel, basically gets him back up to full. Someone's up top with the EVA 8, doing a lot of damage to them. Has to back away. No, Gamer's Origin is going to lose Sirius now, as Triumph are getting in on this as well. Cooler goes down. That's going to be JMW to finish them off now. But here we go. We got JMka up on top. With the wingman, it's Sanya getting decent damage. He's giving up the high ground now, though. He's trying to back away with a huge shot, but the Mastiff just is not doing enough damage here. Triumph on top of the building, but now Maydee's in a little bit of trouble here. He's taking so much damage. Maydee tried his best, but he will fall. And Triumph will be able to finish off top 2, but it looks like we saw them inside the building. I believe it was them anyhow. Able to just win it out, heading that position. Of course, we saw them really doing a good job of controlling that building. We talked about that roof control. We thought it was a little bit audacious, but somehow it worked out for them. And oh no, we might have a crashed lobby and not able to record these scores. Please no.
Luckily, there may be a very talented and handsome caster who was just able to grab a screenshot before that went dead. We'll see if that works out for everybody. But that was going to be BDS not only finishing top of the lobby, but finishing with a huge kill score. 7 from Psychop, 4 from Crummer, only 2 from QT Sadi, but hey, do you know what? We're all in this together. So that's coming together for a big 13-point finish on top of the 12 finishing first. 25 points at the end of round 1 is a massive lead. And looking at the kills across the board, looks like nobody has gotten close to that in this first round. So that was a dominant showing from these guys.
Yeah, when you've killed a fifth of the lobby, pretty much there isn't much left else on the bone there for anybody. Great job coming out from BDS. We talked about it. Good control. Of course, being favored the end zone circle there, having excellent control over it with the Watson traps. Excellent coming out from them. Triumph, though, despite all that, getting second, only picking up 4 kills there. And so they're going to have a very similar scoreline to our third place team in Gamers Origin, who were able to pick up 7 kill points along with their third place finish. And so this is still pretty competitive amongst right now our top 4 teams.
It's looking pretty good, but what we've seen from previous weeks in this, particularly with the 4-game format compared to the 5-game format that we see for ALGS, is that one really standout performance can be enough to really turn the tables. And maybe this performance that we've seen from BDS is that standout performance. Maybe they can have like a mediocre rest of the night and still come out on top. But it's definitely not worth counting out Triumph yet. We've seen them have incredibly high scores in the qualifier lobbies early today. They finished first twice. So I'm kind of looking at BDS and Triumph as maybe our competitors for top two. I have to admit, not that familiar with BDS as a team. Whether or not they can keep this performance up over the course of the evening definitely remains to be seen. But definitely watch out for the heads up between those two in the following 3 matches.
Yeah, of course, what Phil was talking about was during the semifinal qualifier, they had, there was one qualifier, quarterfinal, or semifinal, excuse me, that was a little bit more stacked than the other, I would say. And Triumph was averaging 22, I believe, points per game and won all 3 of their qualifying matches to get in here today. And so already off to a great start, getting second. But of course, their win streak has basically ended in this tournament, in this very short tournament.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but your win streak is not everything. It's not the be all and end all. You would like to maybe come out of this with a higher kill count, but I feel like BDS kind of didn't give them that option. When you, as you were saying, when you kill such a high percentage of the lobby, no other team is going to be able to get anywhere close to what the numbers you put up. Worth noting, our duo. We had a member fail to join their team, did finish 9th and picked up 1 kill. So actually pretty good showing from that, coming in at a huge disadvantage with 1 less player than the rest of the team. Rest of the teams in the lobby means that we may see them put up a slightly stronger scoring when they get that full complement. But not a bad start for being down so strongly in the first match.
Yeah, indeed. And at this point, that's why, we always say, hey, try to play for positioning, try to play for the late game, teams know how to do that. They're used to being able to do that. And so we do have, I believe that should be 3 points for them.
Honestly, Jameson, if I could remember the scoring system, I would have a little more confidence in my IQ. As it is, I'm gonna take you at your word on that one.
Well, we're going to go ahead and take a short break because we are trying to get, of course, Xkufu back into this match. Well, into this match. And so for game number 2, we'll hopefully have him there and we'll have a full 60-man lobby. But don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back with game number 2 of the Esports Arena Apex Legends Weekly. Welcome back, everybody. We are getting ready for game number 2. BDS had a monstrous performance in game number 1. I believe 25 points that they were able to put up. And so, like you had mentioned, Phil, 4-game series. There isn't much time to really try and get a lead here. And so this is a big way to start it off.
Really is. And they, just to put that into context for you, so BDS Esport, 25 points. The next best, Gamers Origin at 14, and Triumph coming in at 13. So it is a big lead, and almost all of that down to just that huge kill score that we saw for that previous round. But I still think, any of these top 5, maybe top 6 teams could come back and surprise us in this. All it takes is one game of the caliber that BDS had, and suddenly you're finding yourself back in the running. And sometimes, let's not call it slow and steady, but competent and thorough and planned and patient is the way to play this. Gamers Origin came out with 14. They finished 3rd. They got a couple of kills. And if they can keep doing that throughout the course of the evening, then that consistent performance is really going to help their chances.
Oh, take a look. Alliance. We're in game now, and they're already pinging Epicenter. And so they're saying they're not going to get bullied off of Epicenter here. We'll see if Nasky and them decide to try and drop on them. I'm actually going to check that out right now.
One of the difficult things for Nasky, not currently as Nasky, Strath and Dell, not an established team. They don't have an established drop, unless, of course, they're just going off Nasky as some sort of IGL. Then they may be dropping here. And it looks like we're going to get the fight going already.
Nasky's got a Sentinel, though, so he doesn't have, the best weapon to really work with now.
Oh, my God.
But it looks like they are still trying to chase them down currently. Aka's taking so much damage. He had a purple and had to pop it.
Got cocky with that one.
Oh, overpeaked that. He's going to go down. Nasky is dropped low, though, and so Zafes is going to try and stand his ground. He does have the Prowler, but, again, not that much ammo to work with. He does have a Havoc also to swap off to. So there we go. Spray down. And are they going to be able to get it? Looks like they do. Wow.
Boy, that really could have gone the other way. That was so close to being disastrous for Alliance.
All right, so it's 1-1.
Okay.
I need help.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, I kind of like the approach that we saw there from Alliance, and this looked like a very practiced thing, particularly Ippenko staying on the high ground, just dropping in those gas canisters. But this is already going the other way for him.
This is what happens. The third party always comes in. If your fight takes too long, I believe that might have been the refinery team. I wasn't looking at the mini-map, and so, Alliance won the battle, but yeah, the third party wins the war.
That's really rough. You can sort of see them almost celebrating, like, yeah, we got them this time. It's one apiece. Like, we've reclaimed Epicenter. And no, sorry, buddy, you spent too long holding that trophy up, and someone just came and ripped it out of your hands. That's unfortunate. And now, team that took the advantage to the third party in a really good position to stock up on items, stock up on kit, ready for the next engagement. They are currently at the edge of the ring, so no real pressure on them to start to move just yet, unless they want to take a slightly more protected position. They will have the Watson there. They can hunker up a little bit. They can take a defensive position in a building somewhere. They've got the get out quick options. They got the oopsie doopsie button of the zip line and of the Wraith portal. So great position for these guys. And now they know where the next ring is going to be. You can see that popping up there. So they're going to start transiting over towards Fragment Rest, where we do already have a couple of teams set up and ready.
It looks like we've got 3 teams over there right now, and everyone's expecting it to go straight over to Fragment West. So this can be a slower game here in the mid game. Of course, Fragment and Urban sprawl, and a lot of buildings for teams to take over, and many buildings where we see multiple teams in residence. Right now, though, on board with Triumph over here at Train Yard. They spotted out a team. Looks like it's going to be a little bit of a fizzle on this engagement, as they're favoring going for the rotation instead of trying to get into a long, protracted fight.
Well, they might not be given that option. Wow, graceful, taking down the double, desperately trying to get into cover. Coming in over the top, they have gotten out of it, but they're not being given any space to get away here. If you are that team attacking Triumph, you have got to go for this chase down. You've got to press the advantage.
And I think JMW is just giving up on it completely here. So again, the nades are still coming in. And Mady's even split up. JMW's up in the upper corner, but they do have Mady. Mady's got his Q that he can try and work with to get it over. But Rugby finished him off at close range, possibly. I don't know exactly where he is right now. And yeah, they are right on top of him.
This is really unfortunate. You're in 2v3. JMW not looking particularly healthy. Yes, you have the well, you will have the zip line. Has gotten out, but gets knocked down off of it. That's so unfortunate for Mady.
I feel like Mady should have known. Rugby, I imagine that Graceful was able to tell Mady that they were up there beforehand. And it was really unfortunate for JMW because he ran into a team as well. Getting through that train tunnel, now he's just stuck by himself here, and this is going to be difficult. Now, I guess the only silver lining is that he's the Watson. If he finds a nice building and just traps it up and kind of postures like he has his whole team,
he knows there's another team up here.
Yeah. I think he might just, oh, they heard him. Yeah. They know he's underneath them.
That's I don't know. I don't get that positioning from JMW at all, unless he's just trying to pick up some resources on the way through. But even then, it's so risky.
I think he's trying to use BDS above them as a deterrent, right? Please don't look at me. There's nothing you can really do about this team on top of construction, so don't even look up here. You have other worries. I don't know.
It's sort of a parasitic, symbiotic relationship here. Like, I'm not entirely sure what JMW is providing, except maybe a little bit of a meat shield later on. But honestly, great play from JMW, great braining if that is his strategy here, just to try and use them as a deterrent, use them as the yellow stripes on the Wasp. And obviously, BDS, our highest placing team in the last round, now well and truly bunkered up on the top of this building. No reason for them to start to move out from here. They've got a nice commanding view of the surrounding countryside. They've got some ranged options. A really great position.
Now we should go over JMK. I think Team 20 right now, who's got a squad right outside of them. It's Weigers actually, as Sanya getting the knock onto Rob.
Hello.
Instantly finish him off. Now I love control of this space right here, especially when we have zones over at Train or over at West Fragment. You have so much control. And this choke point, it's one that it's very difficult to try and circumvent, right? Any other way to get into either area, you have to take such a roundabout way that most teams try to just brute force their way through here. Ronnie taking so much damage though. The bubble comes out. Sanya saves for now. He does go ahead and pull out that longbow. Once again, you got the wingman, buddy. It's basically the same thing. Should be trying to use that right now. He does pull it out here. He's getting hit with the 47. Pushes forward now. Is able to get the Evo shield. Barely misses that shot, but now he's pushing forward too aggressively. He doesn't have his dome to work with. And now JMK, it's all up to Ronnie here. Rugby's down. Sanya's down. He's got the arterial one. He's going to get some decent damage, but he's getting poked from behind as well. He will be able to get the knock onto Paradise, but he has to back away. Hopefully his team is going to be able to stay alive, but no! The peak is going to come out. Weigers come out on top in that fight.
Look, this isn't an Apex thing. This is an FPS shooter thing. Like, you have a choke, and the ideal choke has a very thin, very narrow passage that you can get back into, and a nice wide open space out of it that you can shoot out into. The second you make that decision to go out into the open and give up that advantage, you have put yourself in a disadvantageous position. And that's exactly what we saw happen here. And by doing that, by being cocky, by being aggressive, they cost themselves any chance at getting points because there are still 17 squads left in the game. They're only going to get their kill points for them.
Definitely a much slower paced game than we had in game number 1, where we had 17 squads alive basically a minute into the game. There were so many fights early game. And so, like we said, we would probably see some adjustments coming out of some teams. Except for Alliance and Naski's Honor and InStyle, who are going to be hard-headed, and I think this is going to be a point of pride at this point. We're just going to see those fights over and over again. Games 3 and 4. On board with North, though, as OG already starting it off, getting a knock onto RPR, but Mendy is going to be able to cover him with that shield, get that res. Taishin, also one of the, I think, one of the greats, I would say. His aim is absolutely nuts. His movement is insane as well here.
Yeah, pure mechanics out from Taishin, but this is an interesting decision here to try and run the lifeline. And it's a thing that we sort of discussed a little bit beforehand, that there have been some teams looking at running something like this. But the reason that you see the lifeline not run in favor of the Watson is that healing HP is less valuable than healing overshield, because it's the overshield that goes down first. If you've got 0 HP but 4 shields, you're in a great position compared to the person that has 4 HP and 1 shield, because they've got to do a lot more work to take you down than vice versa. So I think this is a really weird pick from Taishin, and he's got a lot to do to make it work out.
Taishin has got to be careful. He's getting super aggressive now onto his team.
What?
Never mind. It doesn't matter. They're all
Junkin just gave up.
Of him. Yeah. I think
he just
when
knew
you
he was
chased
done.
all the way to the edge, there really isn't much else you can do. You run out of ground to run away from them. On board with Cooler here, though, on the northern side of this circle right now. There's a team poking away at them. It looks like it's Drops that's currently playing at the north side of this circle over at the train station right now, though. But they have to find a way to get in, and it looks like Cooler are going to go ahead and portal over for the 4-story building here in Fragment West.
And they're in a pretty good position here as well. They've got, I believe, at least one gold helmet. I think I might have seen a second being pinged there. So Gibraltar Dome for days here. Looks like they're going to be rotating up onto the high ground. They don't have the biggest height advantage here, but they have managed to find a line onto somebody down there on the low ground. They can afford to do a little bit of bunkering up here, but it's not the most defensible position. Instead, we're going to see them rotating into a different building. And I think for now, it looks like they're looking for somewhere that they can, A, bunker up, and B, get a line into people as they're looking to make transition. Because at the minute, Jules only has the level 2 on the Evo Shield. Really, you want to get that up to red as quickly as possible. And that's going to take a little bit of perseverance and a little bit of luck, just poking out every now and then to try and get some shots in.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of snipers this game now so far. Charge rifle. Ooh, there we go. That's a meaty shot right onto the body with that final burst coming out from ASCII. We haven't talked about Purge quite yet. Case, Winnie, Someone, and ASCII. Now, we do even see them competing, of course, in our North American tournaments as well, but gotta imagine better suited, of course. Running that new Pathfinder skin. Oh, I need to get on. I need to get on to get that.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. A little bit of damage there with the ramp up. Can't quite find that connect with the final burst on the charge rifle, but at this point, you're probably happy just to pile in some damage and burn through some items for whoever it is that you're fighting. Again, can't quite get it with that final burst. Nice attempt with the read, still can't get it.
Yeah. Pretty much what we expected here in the early to mid game. Again, with all the cover, all the buildings for teams to work with, it's going to slow down a lot. We're down to 15 squads, 43 players remaining. 2 squads, I believe, are currently down. Never mind, no, it's just Triumph, who are just down to JMW, who's still alive. I want to actually see exactly where he is. I'm going to check for myself and give you guys an update. He's still in construction. He's just chilling out in construction right now.
Just hiding in a corner, hugging his knees, rocking backwards and forwards, saying, please don't find me, please don't find me. Well, at least that's what I'd be doing in this situation. Not a favorable situation at all.
He's actually posted up, posturing. Oh, on board with Hex. Dennis. He's barely clinging on to life here.
Yeah.
But Hexa will be able to stay alive. They have a nice building. This is a really strong building. I like it myself. The triple story there. So able to stabilize. No team really going to push them. Again, we're at that stage of the game where there's still a lot of teams alive, and that alone works as a deterrent for other teams to not push you. But talking about pushes, here comes Cooler. They're going to go ahead and port to the north-hand side of the ring.
Yeah, I mean, they looked, when we saw them last like they were posturing to maybe hunker up somewhere, but instead they're going for this rotation onto the edge, and they have got a bead on somebody. Jules has done enough to get up to the level 3 on the Evo Shield, and they can probably afford to push in if they really want to. I think maybe they're just going to opt to play at range instead for now. The Wraith Portal is available for them to use there down on the bottom right if they so choose. But I think, honestly, coming into this high ground position with the natural cover that it affords the defender, probably not great unless you can be absolutely certain that you've got the tools to make that happen. Like you've got to have the Gibraltar Dome ready to go to either cover your entrance or to give you a defensive space to fight behind whilst you're out in the open. And there's no guarantee that you're going to put that in a position where you can actually effectively take a fight. That might just be you wasting a cooldown whilst the enemy team repositions out of your way. So I think probably fairly sensible for them to have not taken this and instead going to retreat to a high ground bunker position. But we're going to move over and have a look at Elitist. Don't think we've seen a lot of them so far today. Currently posted up in the train station.
Yeah, I would say measured aggression. Is really what you're looking for here in Apex Legends, or you could just be aggressive like Complexity. But we're not seeing that. We're not seeing as much of that, except some early game fights. Oh, you're on board with Kashera, Nook, and Horizon. It's all down to Nook, and he goes down. It's going to be North finishing that off here, as we're right back on board with drops and pet wires now. It's a duo, and it looks like unfortunately they had teammate crash and he wasn't able to get back into the game. The reconnect feature just not quite working so far in our custom lobbies. It's a real shame right now. So we would really love it, of course, for our competitive matches. Here we go with Weigers. Again, we saw them trading away, barely surviving in their fight earlier on. They're still alive.
Incredibly well stocked. Again, just looking down the list of what armor they've got available to them, like these guys are going to be very hard to pick out, and they've got the mobility options to close the distance. They've got the Watson if they want to post up and wait for the fight to come to them. So yeah, this is a really, really good position to be in. I don't know how much I like the charge rifle. That might just be me personally, because hey, Rabe is getting a lot of work done with it. Gets the 4 mount into it, shield break as well.
Yeah, it's EU meta. Charge rifle, Evo shield is just kind of what you do. Now, again, it's about that transition. Are they going to be able to get a box where, he can't pick up a long-range weapon? Now, hey, look, even Impa has got himself a charge rifle.
Okay.
But Mastiff there in play as they are controlling the medical building here. W Series taking some damage, has to be careful. But again, it's about trying to control the diner next to them again. I keep saying again, I'm sorry. But Gamers Origin right now, they would like to try and clear out that diner if at all possible. They think try to use it as a sniper. I do that all the time.
Well, the swap of the charge rifle proving a little more effective there. But yeah, a couple of wasted shots in the Mastiff. It's not PK. It doesn't work like a sniper rifle at this range. Huge amount of damage, but a beautiful Gibraltar Dome to stop the finish.
We see even getting the Gibraltar ultimate coming down, the defensive bombardment here, as this is going to spell trouble for that squad in the middle of the park. He's getting laid into it. There's more aggression coming out from the north. I don't know exactly who it is, but Gamers Origin desperately want these kill points here. They're trying their best, but it's Elitist who ran away from that train station, and they will be able to find some refuge behind these boxes. But now they're forced away from the cover on the north side here.
Well, we are now getting to the exponential portion of this fight. As the ring starts to close in, it's going to get a lot more kill happy. You can already see that looking at the right hand side, looking at the kill feed. We're down to 12 squads now, and the ring is going to be getting closer and closer. 12 squads left in this space means that there's not really a lot of places to hide, and a rotation out of this position of boxes is more or less impossible. They need to just hunker down and wait, because the fight has to come to them. There is nowhere they can move until, at the very least, we get a Wraith portal available to take them out of this killing field.
AHG have just lost 2 members. We've seen it on Kill Me, but Elitist, Rian tried to go for the rotation, and he goes down. And that's the Wraith portal as well, but looks like he will be able to pop a res.
That would have completely stuffed up their chances.
Now on board Weigers, who are playing underneath the train tracks here. And they're pretty far from that ring. So they need to be able to clear this team out. They've only got 27 seconds to do it, but good damage coming out from Rob. 71 onto that Watson. He will be able to get that knock. Drops, goes down. Mox goes down. They're going to be able to finish this off and maybe have a clear path for this rotation. No, Paradise goes down.
Playgrounds. They thought they were safe. Somebody just on the right-hand side. Ice looking particularly unhealthy at the minute, and in fact will get knocked down entirely. So now a 2-man squad for Weigers and 8 squads left in the game. The ring closing in. No time to stop and shield up, I'm afraid, Robbie.
Yeah, they needed to finish that fight long ago, but Rob just kind of backing off and letting his Wraith take that peek by himself. Got a little bit overconfident, a little bit overzealous, and now they're in trouble in between Fire and the ring, and now they've got a Caustic in front of them.
Oh, no.
They're going to get knocked. That's going to be BDS once again coming in, but Gamers Origin also answering back. K-Swinny up top. Now it's Purge's someone dropping down low as K-Swinny now surviving. The only surviving member for his team with 15 HP. He's going to be able to get an armor swap, but now, here we go, swapping off onto North. We're playing over by the cafeteria, by the cafe area. Go ahead and push down here. It's 4 squads. They have a great position. They've got the high ground. They've got priority on this ring, and they've got the aim. Taishin laying into someone will be able to finish him off.
Man, that was so satisfying to watch, just every single one of those hitting home. There was nowhere for them to run. They were just waiting for the damage to come in from Taishin, who appears to be making the lifeline work, despite what we were saying earlier about it maybe being a suboptimal pick. If you look at the hop-ups they've currently got for the Wingman as well, like they are in such a good position here to take the fight as it comes to them, particularly as they can rotate into this building. To give themselves the cover as the ring starts to close in. Like, this is absolutely North's fight to win if they play this just right.
Yeah, it's a 3v1 right now.
Oh dear.
Gamers Origin, they're trying to recover their Caustic. I don't know if it's going to be possible here. They got 15 seconds to try and get the res on him, but there's also a solo survivor currently right now. Purge's K-Swinny is currently knocked with that gold shield. Now, Gamers Origin won't be able to get that res. Purge is going to try and go for it. Excuse me, someone is going to try and go for it.
You're right, someone, somewhere is going to try and go for it.
Excuse me.
Yeah, K-Swinny's going to get that. And again, we're going to see North in pretty much the ideal position here. The fight's got to come to them. The ring is closing in, but with 4 squads left, this is about to finish out. And just as they pop through the Wraith portal, that's going to be them down to 2 squads now, Jameson.
It's going to be North's Taishin versus Elitist now. And, oh, no, that Gibraltar ultimate coming down a little bit too early there. Take a look at the ring. It's going to go ahead and pull right in the middle of the 2 teams, and they have to push out into the open ground. It's going to be the aggressive push coming out from North. There's Taishin is going to get some good damage off. It's RPR picking up 2, and it's going to be North to finish this off.
Jeez, what a play. So this was a strange position for a lot of these teams to be in. We saw them, in a lot of instances, trapped just on the edge of the ring, not having the most ideal path to get back into a defensible position, like where North was set up. And several of them, I'm thinking particularly Weigers, despite how well they were set up, they weren't in a great position to make the rotation from where they were to where they were needed to be, and subsequently were just knocked out of the fight completely. I think it's a really great read here from North to be in that position ahead of time, in that defensive setup, and a really great play at the end there, the drop of the Gibraltar Dome to give them the shield to fight around that car in the final circle, to just buy that little bit of an edge to secure them the win at the end there. I think really well played by North.
Yeah, I would also say experience kind of won out for them at this point. North has been playing together for a long time now, and you got to see that's the aggression coming out from a seasoned Gibraltar team. Now, while we had Gibraltars on both sides, one went aggressive, one didn't. They had the initiative, and they were able to take that fight and just win it out. Of course, North have some absolutely nutty players, and so congratulations to them for taking that win. That was game number 2, and that means that is the halfway mark of our EU finals. We'll be right back, but after the break, it'll be the second half, and we'll have the final conclusion of this tournament. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We can edit that one out.
Back.
Hey.
Yeah.
Welcome back, guys, to the Esports Arena Apex Legends Weekly EU tournament here as we are heading into the second half. Jet Set Jamers in here once again with Big Hungry Phil, and now we are heading into the second half, like I said, and things are getting spicy right now. If we could take a look at the leaderboard, BDS Esport currently still leading with 30 points, but right behind them we've got North, the winners of our second game, now at 26 points.
And what we're seeing there, BDS in their first round put up a score of 24 points. So in that second round, they were only able to get 6. They still placed relatively okay, they're in the top half, but they just couldn't find that same level of performance, and so their lead has narrowed significantly. And if that's the form we're going to see from them for the rest of this evening's games in this final half, it means that there is a lot of room now for these other teams, North, Gamers Origin, Purge, Team Elitist, Triumph, to close that distance. And I finished on Triumph there for a reason. We were talking before the previous game how if Triumph just kept posting these strong, steady, consistent performances, they were likely to be in the running for a placement finish. But they didn't find that in the second round. I think they only got a smattering of points, currently sat at 6th in the leaderboard, with a lot to do to get up to the heights of BDS Esport and North. So we got to watch out for these guys in the next round.
All right, so we're on board here. Game number 3, Nasky, InStyle, and Otter, as they're heading over to Epicenter, but I don't think we're going to see a fight. I'm watching Alliance right now, and they are steering clear of it. They are going over to Skyhook. As you can see, Nasky himself taking a look over in that direction. He's like, oh, okay, we got this.
We wanted that fight, yeah. Well, worth bearing in mind, though, we did see, I think we saw North come in third party this in the last round, so it might still be a contested drop. I haven't seen where North are dropping yet.
I don't think, I don't know, was it North? It might have been, was it not Elitist, right? Was it Elitist? Or was
might have been Elitist.
It was Space's team. It was Space's team, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, now we do have a fight, it looks like, over the train, as Hakus just picks up Jules, just like that.
Wow. Yeah, quick as you like. That's unfortunate for Jules. Hopefully, he's still in a position where we can get him res back into the rest of the game. But it looks from the distance marker there that it might be quite some distance there for Road to travel and for Sligan as well.
Yeah, I think they might have thought that they had Skyhook to themselves, but that is simply not the case. Is this Deathbox on the train as well?
Oh, that would be terrible.
That would be, because it's just there's no picking it up.
No. Speaking of pickups, managed to pick up the gold backpack out of that cargo drone is incredibly useful. Yeah. Oh, buddy, no, Jules. That is the most unfortunate thing I've ever seen happen to somebody playing Apex. That's how do you come back from that one, frankly?
Yeah. You gotta hope maybe the train makes it back in time, or like try to run over to the next stop. I got you. No, there's no coming back from that one, and so Cooler are gonna have to play man down for the rest of the game here. So that's I'm surprised that they're actually sticking around as long as they are currently. But it looks like, wait, what is IPN doing while the rest of the squad is still in Skyhook right now? It looks like they're going to go for trials, and we got to see a lot of trials throughout this weekend. And so Alliance are going to be kitted out of their minds for this match.
Yeah, this is a really great position for them to be in. Already got the gold armor. I believe that's a level 2 Evo shield available for Vaves Hackers with the standard blue shield. Eva A, obviously seeing a lot more playtime since the Peacekeeper got vaulted is maybe not quite the right word, but there aren't that many viable shotguns in the game. Mastiff has been stuck with this lower respawn rate, so it's harder to get hold of. So if you want to be playing the shotgun, a lot of the times you're going to have to be relying on that Eva 8, although we may see them swap out. It's just still not the most effective gun in the game. At the very least, you've got to be using it as a sidearm. You want something a bit more consistent, a bit more punchy, and you can just bring out the Eva 8 at the end of the fight just to get the finishing blow to save you having to reload. Right now, I think it's a long way from the most effective option here for Haggis.
Bird currently in fight over at Harvester now. They've already got one-man advantage here, and it looks like they might be porting after him in pursuit, as ASCII is going to be able to heal up, and there we go, instantly into the portal, and took some damage, but he has to back off as the Thermite comes right on in, as someone now is going to get the heal from that Watson generator, and they've got to be careful. These fights here in Harvester can be so dynamic, and third parties can come in extremely quickly.
Yeah, it's this weird mix of incredibly open and incredibly enclosed. So you can see we've got two different bunkers here. They're going to be firing across this gap, just looking for a one pick or one high damage advantage that they can then close the distance on the back of. But look at all the other directions that other teams can come from and take them by surprise, and third, fourth, even fifth party them just to get in. So you're not safe here. You may feel safe behind your Watson pylons with your race forces to get out, but you've got to keep your head on a constant swivel.
Yeah, Chiemka and BDS were able to pick off a squad there, and that's why you do have to be careful. There's so many positions. Oh, he opened the door. Wasn't a headshot, fortunately for whoever it was on the other side of that crosshair, but he does have that skull piercer on this longbow, so it can be extremely deadly. Has to be careful now. But yeah, a lot of fighting going on right now, as we do have the ring closing in on Harvester, and with the available ground here in the second ring, it's hard to kind of figure out where this ring is going to go. But I'm feeling like it is going to be a Western Harvester ending.
Well, you know, you've had a pretty good track record of predicting where these are going to go, so I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt on that one. Assume that's what we're going to see. However, Elitist currently taking a bit of heat here from that defensive bombard.
They will be able to back away, as Hugo's going to go ahead and pop that cell, but it's Big Wolf who's taking damage now. No shields to work with, but he does have 75 HP, and his team here to back him up, playing on the truck. So this, I don't know if they need to commit into this choke, but it looks like they're going to at least throw some nades in there. Watson generator is going to eat that up. So it looks like they want to continue on this push here. We'll try and take this. The Pathfinder zipline, 36-36, getting decent damage off. Doesn't crack him quite yet, but that might be enough damage for them to feel comfortable to push off of. Distance, though, a little bit too long, as the Gibraltar bubble is down, and it looks like the pursuit is over.
You know, it was a lot of damage there. Very good focus fire from Hugo. And I think generally from the team, they identified that, yes, there was a team over there, but because of where they were coming from, as they crested this rise, they were going to be given the high ground advantage. And so that team over there has to get out of their way, and they caught them in the middle of the rotation. And I thought that was very well done from Elitist.
Great damage to ultimately secure them this spot, which I thought, you know, they don't need to fight for it. Definitely don't need to expend as many resources, because a lot of nades were used there. They got to heal up as well. There were multiple paths to try and take in, but it looks like the fight really isn't quite over yet. Oh, big damage onto Big Wolf as they port their way onto the tracks. They're going to drop down onto Hot Springs.
Yeah, cheeky little Wraith pylon across the... Sorry, Watson pylon across the Wraith portal on their way out of it, but it looks like they're not out of the woods yet. You saw the damage marker on the screen in the top left, so they're going to try and get this a little bit more fortified so they can get back up to full health, and we might see them hold up here for a little while. They're right on the edge of the ring. We don't know fully where it's going to close in on next. They could look out here. They could be able to hold up here for a while.
Now, we do know that the second ring, though, is pulling over to Harvester, and I don't believe this building is in, but it's not that far of a run for them. I believe they can still kind of rotate up to the north. Oh, no, the building is still in. Okay.
Hold it. Inheriting your powers here, Jameson.
So they've got 2 minutes and 20 seconds to work with here to try and clear out the team that's above them. But instead, they're just going to go ahead and hop on over and try to get closer into the ring right now, make some distance between themselves and that team. But Hugo's taking a lot of damage already, forcing out that Gibraltar bubble now. On board with OG, they are in the northeast corner of Harvester here. No teams in their immediate vicinity. I don't think anyone's going to run into them anytime soon. A lot of the teams in Harvester proper currently are hugging more of the western edge of the POI.
That's right. Well, again, we find another team with this fairly classic setup with the Watson, the Wraith, Pathfinder, so they've got the mobility options. they've got the repositioning options, and they've got the reliability of that Watson generator and the warning and the little advantage that you get from having the Watson pylons up. And they're happy and they're comfortable here. They're fairly well kitted out. They know they don't have to move just yet. And so we're going to see some slow play. In fact, a lot of slow play throughout the entirety of this game. Still 17 squads left in as the ring starts to close in around Harvester. And so there's no pressure on them. They don't have to go anywhere. And so I think we're unlikely to see them go anywhere. This, however, is an interesting position from BDS. They've got it very well crisscrossed with Watson pylons, but it's a low ground position. And unless they've got the Wraith Portal ready to go, it's going to be very hard for them to get out from incoming damage.
I was actually watching them. They were kind of forced into this position. There was a knock onto one, I forget whom, and they were here in this low ground position. They got pushed. It looks like they were able to survive that fight, as there are 3 death boxes here. Got to conclude that was an entire squad that tried to push them and regretted it instantly. Now they are going to go ahead and poke their heads on out. Speaking of heads, trying to find Prema was one. Wasn't able to get the headshots, but still decent damage. That's what the wingman does. And I like this, taking some early initiative to try and create a bit more space for themselves, and often to try and go for that high ground, because like you said, this is the ultimate low ground, so it can be a little bit difficult to fight out of this position.
But again, they are fairly well ensconced. They've got the pylons. They've actually got a fair amount of cover here, so fights typically have to come to them. But it's still not fantastic, and I believe we've got a little bit of a moving platform here. Oh, going to jump off from that, yeah.
It was a fight between AHG, Weigers, and a third party, Mox. But they're just going to go ahead and scarper off, Weigers are, as they were the team that were on that train. They traded away 1-for-1, but neither team were able to ultimately, of course, secure that kill points. AHG controlling the choke point to the southwest, connecting Harvester and Thermal Station. But Weigers, we just saw them get out of the fight. It's JMW to pick him up across the map, basically. Ooh. With that, Wingman and Crip is going to get finished off.
Yeah, unfortunate for Weigers. Still on board with Ad Hoc Gamers, though, who... it's a very strong position to hold here. The thing I don't like about where they were holding is that there's not a lot of places you can go to get immediate cover. You're relying very heavily on the Gibraltar Dome. Although I suppose they do have this zip line to get in and out of trouble fairly quickly. But I still think this is going to be disadvantageous in the long run, because it does look like this is going to be pulling right over onto Harvester. And I can't imagine they want to be stuck out here for too much longer. The question is, how do you start to close the distance when you are one of the teams stuck outside of a structure?
It looks like you don't, because you just get deleted out of the server here.
That'll do it.
Yeah, it was unfortunate not having that Wraith for that rotation off this train tracks. They just got caught out, and a lot of nades I was watching actually being dropped down onto them right now. AHG, though, they've got this western edge to try and work with, but it looks like they're going to go ahead and back away. No sense really trying to push that building when they already know that there's another team to their west looking to go for that third party. So instead, they're going to go for a more controlled area where, of course, they've got these Watson traps still in this choke.
Yeah, they've got this set up quite nicely, and it's not a bad place to return to. I think one thing that I overlooked when I was talking about what they've got here earlier is just how much high ground control they have. They've got to know that given where things are closing in, it's going to be around Harvester. They can afford to stand on the outside and try and get people as they make the rotation into Harvester on this low ground position here. But again, this next ring, after this one's done closing in, is unlikely to leave them in a position where they can continue to hold this, but they're happy to play the waiting game. 15 squads left in the game. You are still 5 squads away from being in the point. No need to rush. Bunker up. Use your abilities to your advantage. And that was a beautiful throw from Zibert, actually. Landed right on top of the gold death box. Hopefully that pays dividends for them.
Again, Matafe and company still doing a really good job of controlling a lot of space right now, as they're controlling this choke here. And this is one of those squads that really do heavily invest into playing on the edges of the circle. They love taking their fights there, especially if they can find out if they are isolated. They don't have one here, but again, they have a spot for the late game instead, which is pretty much just as good. You can get your kill points later on in the game as long as you survive into more controllable engagements.
Looks like we did lose Elitist in the final few exchanges there, so now down to 14 squads. And a good angle here for AHG. They can see the team hunkered up on the low ground, and again, exactly what I've been talking about all through this evening. The high ground control here is so important, and when it's right on the edge of the ring, right where AHG like to play, then this is completely their playground.
Team 16 we should go over to right now as Rugby has gone down. And it looks like they might have just been able to finish them off. AHD, though, here we are, still on board with them.
With them. I'm getting used to seeing these guys. Okay, we're going to go and have a look at Triumph. Triumph at least have a couple of kills on the board now. Mady's managing 2. And again, nice bunker position here with the Gibraltar as well, should they need to reposition, so they need to take a fight out in the open. But it looks like Mady's got a line on somebody trying to push in down the slope, and I believe that's AHG on the high ground over there.
Yeah, AHG to their south. The ring pulling off of this building isn't the worst thing in the world for Triumph. You see that high ground to their left that Mady was shooting at over. That's really what they want to try and control. It looks like with that ping, it is in. It is one of the best spots to try and hold in this ring here. It offers you great high ground. And again, basically an uncontested high ground as well, as very few teams have any option to try and peek you.
Still a lot of teams left in this. No use counting anybody out just yet. And Triumph, I think maybe having second thoughts about taking this engagement against AHG. They know that AHG kind of have to come in their direction. They have to give up the high ground. And I think they're trying to win out the war of attrition here. Get some damage in, force them to use shield cells, force them to use medkits, and just make them weaker for when the fight actually comes to a head. Because all this is at the minute is these two teams are sizing each other up. Like, they know that they're unlikely, unless they get incredibly lucky, to actually get the kills.
Yeah, and it looks like Alliance were able to take out Myth throughout all of that. Now we're down to 12 squads here, 31 players remaining. This might be the push coming out from Triumph here. Mady takes a lot of damage as he swings on in. And that's scary. Watson generator along with that Gibraltar bubble being used as JMW almost goes down. Got a few more seconds to work with here. They're going to go ahead and toss out that Gibraltar defensive bombardment to buy them a little bit more space behind. Mady taking so much damage. He's got 10 more seconds on to that grapple to try and get out. But now the ring is going to start closing, and it looks like they might have just chosen the wrong hill to push. It's going to be Cooler as they will take him out. Graceful going down to Zipith, and it looks like Triumph might just get finished off. There it is, the final member, JMW, going down. On board with Purge, still here in Harvester proper.
Yeah, very unfortunate for Triumph there, and unfortunately, like as nice a resource as the Phoenix Kit is, trying to pop it in the middle of two other teams is almost always going to lead to a bad time, because it takes such a long time to get off. And you saw he actually had to abandon it in, I think, the final 0.2, 0.3 seconds because of the damage that was coming in, and it just meant that all that time was wasted for nothing. And unfortunately, being stuck between those two other teams with no other resources to speak of meant that there was nothing else that could be done about that, and Triumph are going to be coming away from this with another very unfortunate finish, and it's starting to look like their run through to the top placements is probably at an end here.
Triumph did have 17 points getting into this game. ASCII, able to find cover there, and we'll be able to heal up. But they got to do it quickly here. They've got a minute until the ring closes, and they are on the fast side of the circle. Why isn't he healing?
That's a very good question. I think maybe has the impression that there are a couple of teams either side, and I think the fact that he's watching a raid portal here suggests that he maybe thinks someone was about to come through that. Is at least healed up now. 9 squads left in the game, as we do see. I think that's OG taken out of it. And the ring closing in quick, and the ring about to close in a particularly open, not particularly defensible area. So How do you take this fight? Do you try and wait until the last second to enter the ring and take whatever high ground or cover advantage you can take, or do you play aggressively? Because there are a few squads here that are down to a single player. You might look out, you might get that kill, you might increase your standings, but also the last thing you want to do is see Hackers get taken out like that just as you're trying to heal up. This is not looking great for Alliance right now, trapped in the middle of that. Looks like they're trapped between a couple of teams here, possibly.
Guardian Angel backpack, though, will be the saving grace for Hawkins, and so he doesn't have to fully heal up before he goes for this port to get his team into safety now. And not having a Gibraltar here, it leaves them very vulnerable, but they do have that caustic. If they can just survive one more scrap, one more fight, it'd be huge for them. IPN with a nice toss does have to be careful. It's going to play underneath the ramp here, which is a very strong position, I would say, for a lot of caustics, but he's getting naded out, has to be careful, does back away from his position here, and he's just trying to control it with his gas, and he finds a sliver of land to work with. The ring now pulls over to the western edge. IPN once again barely surviving here, but the arc starts coming in. He's going to try and back off, but he will fall down. That's going to be Nook finishing him off. He does have that gold red shield to work with to try and get into cover, but we have to remember that Hackus already used his portal. Not going to be able to get into safety, and they're not going to get this caustic into the late game.
We talk about Caustic being particularly great in the late game, but really only if you can get him into a close quarters position. The ring currently not small enough to guarantee any coverage with the caustic gas. You're not in a building, you're out in the open, and so you can use it to try and build yourself a little bit of pseudo cover, but it will be shot through, they will spray through it, and he will get taken down. And he just wasn't given a single second's rest there. You saw him violently trying to heal up the entire way through, and he just couldn't find the cover to make it happen. So always a gamble trying to bring the caustic through into the late game. Just a shame it didn't work out for him here.
Now we're going to have the final fight as that ring just pulls out into the open. AHG, full three-man. We've got Horizon, Nook, and Kashera, also full three-man. As a duo, of course, we have Ice and Hawkins here. And as a solo, Cooler's Row. We'll see who comes out on top. Anything can happen as we have 4 teams still alive. Zippeth considering throwing out that Gibraltar bombardment. And he will actually toss it down. No connects for them, though.
Hoping they would try and flush somebody out, maybe try and convince someone that was coming at them, but will actually flush somebody out, and a huge amount of damage coming in from Zipper.
He's got the bubble to work with as well. He's going to go ahead and toss that out now as the fray is just taking place in front of them. I thought maybe Mirage was in there. Everyone was kind of moving in unison, and Zippeth still able to connect with his shots, and AHG are going to take the victory in game number 3.
I mean, what a showing there from Zippeth in particular, and it looked like his defensive bombardment hadn't really done too much, but I think maybe a couple of things were in play there. Either we had somebody with a bit of a misread on where the bombardment was coming down and then ran out because they thought they were going to be covered with it, instead running into it. The other thing was maybe having realized that the bombardment was no longer on the cards, they weren't going to be caught by it. That was the team's window to get out of trouble and find a better position. And unfortunately, AGH were just there waiting for them. They knew exactly where they were going to be going, and that will be AGH taking that first position in round number 3. Only 1 round left in the game, Jameson.
Yeah, and that was a huge game for them. We were talking about middle of the pack before, right? We cut off right there at Triumph and Ad Hoc Gaming. Triumph were sitting at 6th place with 17 points, but Ad Hoc Gaming with that win and already with 14 points and a number of kills. We saw them get into a lot of fights here. So I actually want to take a look at the scoreboard right now. AHG finished off, of course, first with 7 kill points. So that's going to be 19 going their way. That's going to put them at a total of 33 points going into that. Going into game number 3, BDS were at first with 30. North were second with 26. And so really catapulting themselves up here in the leaderboards.
Yeah, BDS didn't have quite such a strong showing. That's a 9th place finish, 3 kills on the board. So, not a terrible showing, certainly helping them keep at the top end of the leaderboard, but not the standout showing that we saw from them in the first round. And suddenly the top end of the leaderboard has become a lot more compressed. And coming into game 4, there are a whole realm of teams here that are well placed to take that top spot or get a top 3 finish.
Yeah, I believe that BDS may retain their lead with this. They should retain their lead.
Mm,
Again, they had a number of kills, I believe 3, and finishing
3
ninth.
kills.
So they are going to stay up on top. It
Mm.
looks like, but barely,
Yeah,
barely, maybe by
it's
one
not the
point against Ad
yeah
Hoc Gaming.
it's not the insurmountable 16-point lead or whatever they had at the start of this. It's a lot more surmountable. Of course, if they can repeat their first game performance, then obviously not a lot anybody can do about that because you've soaked up all the kills for yourself. But the rest of these games have looked a lot more even. There's been no real standout kill count performances. It's all been down to a solid number of kills and a good finish, which is kind of what we expect. The system is designed so that you still do well if you survive, and getting kills is great. That's extra points for you. So the system is kind of working as intended. We've got a nice close spread across the top of the group, and it could go a bunch of different ways as we hit round 4.
Also, I just wanted to note, very interesting. We saw the Alliance, of course, dropping on Cooler,
Mm.
over at Skyhook, right? And they were able to get that first kill onto Jules. So yeah, Alliance ended at third with 8 kill points, but Cooler actually ended fourth with 5 kill points. So that duo, Ro and Sign, doing a decent amount of damage
Yeah.
themselves, and so not letting, of course, losing their third hinder them at all. And so great finish for them for what started off as a really bad game.
Yeah, you never want to be dropping at such a massive disadvantage. And there are a couple of ways you can play that. You can just go for survivability. You can just try and get to the ring and last as long as you can to guarantee some points. Or you can try and play kind of aggressively and get the kills to guarantee your scoreline. But to be able to do that a man down is testament to the skill of these players, I feel.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm trying to remember exactly where I saw Cooler playing during that game, but it escapes me at this point. It looks like we do have the final updated
Mm-hmm.
scores so far. So, in our top 5, BDS Esports still leading the way with 35 points. Right behind them, we got Ad Hoc Gaming with 33. North now in third place with 29 points. Purge sitting at fourth, tied for fourth,
Wow.
actually, with Gamers Origin at 26, and tied for sixth place. Triumph Gaming and N1 Gaming at 21 points apiece.
So still very, very close. I think I've said that maybe 4 or 5 times now in this segment. It's incredibly tight at the top of the group. BDS absolutely can do this. Like, their performance has not been standout in rounds 2 and 3, but it's been solid and it's been enough to keep them up at the top throughout all of this. Any of those top 6 teams with a real pop-up performance can do it. But kind of hard to predict exactly how that's going to go.
Now,
It
one
looks
thing
like
I will note is that we've had teams absolutely frag out
mhm,
for the ultimate win here. In game number 4,
true.
often Team Liquid, Alliance
Yeah.
have done it. Now, Alliance, once again, in that position where they need a monstrous game for a win. And we'll see if they can try and do that. So we have game number 4 ready to go. We are in the lobby. We are in Legend Select. And so we will start very shortly here. Game number 4. What are you expecting to see coming out from a lot of our teams here?
I don't think we're going to see anything particularly unusual. I think the most unusual thing I've seen tonight has been it was Tyreen running the lifeline. I think even that is unlikely to be seen at this stage in the game because, as I've been saying pretty much incessantly for the past 20 minutes, it's very tight at the top of the group. You don't want to be running risks here. Everyone is going to be playing in a very solid, very dependable way. I think if you can guarantee a number 1 position here, your likelihood of taking a podium position is pretty good. So I don't see that teams are going to be taking huge risks either in their compositional choices or in what rotations they choose to make. You mentioned a little bit from your experience casting ALGS this weekend, have occasionally seen teams maybe getting slightly in their own way, trying to be tricky with rotations. Trying to think, I normally make this rotation, but everybody knows that, so I'm going to go this way instead, and running into other teams with that same game plan in mind and getting some unusual clashes. And I don't think we've seen a lot of that so far tonight. Maybe a little bit here and there, some people at the edge of the ring in some unfortunate positions. If teams can avoid getting in their heads about that and keep making these more competent, more confident rotations that they're used to making, then we're going to see a very slow, very steady game with the high fragging happening in the final 30 to 40 seconds.
Are we going to see Alliance here contest on the train?
Interesting.
It looked like there might have been another team indicating they were going there. Not sure. IPN, if you could look around for me, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be really helpful.
Looks like they're going to actually get it for free. Don't have to worry.
Wow.
And they'll ride this all the way over to Skyhook, which can be all right. We did see them in Skyhook earlier. Arcstar coming in, kind of hopeful, I would say.
Well, you know, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so why not chuck an Arcstar in?
True. I feel that. But it looks like the game will be a little bit slower right now on board with Chamka. We're over here at Train. Nice starts already for Rugby at the very least. He's got an R9 wingman and a blue armor.
Yeah, that's a great start. Not looking quite so good, although Sanya does have the Evo shield. It's going to take him a little while before that's really much use. And I don't know that I saw... Oh, let's have a quick look at the minimap. Doesn't look like we've got too many other teams. In fact, it is just JMK at the train yard, so it's going to be a while before they can really trade up on that.
Oh, this is a very hard northwestern pull, by the way, coming out. So
Ooh, yes.
Everyone's expecting this to end over at Trials. I would imagine trying to find anyone who's picked up the beacon. And yeah, this is looking like a Trials ending. Actually on the western side of Trials at that point. So that's going... I haven't seen a circle like that in quite some time.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice dramatic ending over by the end of Trials, I think.
Yeah, so
we make it as far as that. Yeah,
it's either to the northwest of Trials or just like right below at the entrance, on the western entrance of Trials, I think. It's going to be very difficult, but teams are going to want to get here as quickly as possible. What we are going to see, I think, primarily are a lot of teams, of course, playing that western edge of Skyhook. That is within the second ring's radius. It's just... easiest cover to get to, easiest ground to cover and rotate through.
Yeah, of course, a lot of this depends on teams being able to successfully make that prediction. So the Pathfinder team's already at an advantage, and I believe Rugby was maybe taking a bit of flack there. I thought I heard the ramp up of some shots. Certainly can hear some gunfire. Can't quite see where that's coming from.
Yeah, it sounded like a Havoc getting revved up there for a second. Might have been waiting for possibly a cargo bot, but here we go. We got the balloon rotate coming out now for them. They do have two teams in their way, one over at Lava Fissure and one over at the Northwest Connector, but they're going into Skyhook proper here. And I can see why they would, but again, this is a very hard northwestern pull. So I'm surprised that they take this route.
Well, looking also like Nasky and his team have taken YDN out of the running. So it's going to be a couple of kills on the board for Nasky and the rest of the guys in his ad hoc team today. Not a bad position to be in. Be back on board with Myth as they're looking to rotate through here. Not a lot of pressure on them at the minute. Relatively well kitted out. I maybe don't like the G7 Scout alongside the R99 quite so much. I think there are some maybe more efficient ways to run this loadout, so maybe we'll see him swap off that if something more beneficial comes his way for sure.
Double light does give you, well, this double light setup gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of you can play it long range, you can play close, and if all else fails, you just take off like your 2 or 3x on the G7 Scout and just fire people at close range. It does absurd things. On board with Myth, though, who are currently sitting at, they are in 18th place with 4 points right now.
So I've got a lot of time for the guys in Myth. I've seen a few of these guys play a couple of other ad hoc tournaments under the name Irish Wristwatch, which is a famous British tongue twister. Seem like a very characterful set of guys.
I say we move this way.
Now, I know it's a tongue twister, but I keep saying it in my head, and that doesn't quite work, because it is, of course, a tongue twister.
The tongue has to be involved for it to be a tongue twister. Off broadcast, try it out. I wouldn't recommend it here. It doesn't go
okay. All right. Myth, though, now rotating over to the eastern side, trying to make their way over to drill site. I want to see if possibly, they are pinging a little bit differently, as they are, it looks like, planning to go through the tunnel here, and so not committing onto the trial side. Maybe they're looking for some extra kill points. I don't know exactly what they're trying to do with this rotation, if they're maybe just trying to avoid fights. But there are going to be some fights in their way. Speaking of fights, it's going to be Purge here on the southern side of Trials. Should have to be careful, though. I don't know if top Trials has a bead on them. And again, a lot of teams are starting to make their movements here, getting closer and closer into the second ring.
And of course, ASCII has just managed to get that up to level 2. I was going to say that it's kind of tricky for ASCII to want to make or take this fight because of how underprepared he is from armor point of view, but it seems like he's at least made that a little better for himself. Nice little backwards slide there from ASCII. That's the high ground looking over towards Skyhook, and I believe from that ping, there is maybe another team hunkered up in that building on the low ground. They're going to go through a different rotation. They don't want to take that fight unless they have to. We're going to see them rotate around the main Skyhook structure and see if
very
they can
smart.
Find a better path.
They can just leapfrog from building to building if they so pleased. They were pinging towards the train station northwestern area by the Easter egg bin, but it looks like a team's already ziplined over there, and so they're not going to be able to do that at all. I believe a team is actually three teams are in that general vicinity right now. Trying to find them.
You can see Otto was taking a couple of shots or something at the very least, and looking a little less healthy here. Chimskaya.
Oh no, Sanya now dropped down and he's burning away. Is Rugby as he tries to hold his door. Ported through, has a Pathfinder who instantly takes it back. Rugby might have a moment's reprieve here to try and heal up. As now he got tagged big, literally on 1 HP, popping that Phoenix kit, sweating the entire time. It's Alliance up here cleaning up, as Weiss will be able to finish off Decio, pick up those kill points for themselves. This is what Alliance wants. Alliance wants the rest of the lobby still alive so they can pick up these kill points. We saw them do it before. Game number 4, massive game, something like 17 kill points as they now push on to a second team to their north.
That's right, nice little bit of a stray down there. It's going to be IPN closing the distance, drop the gas behind him, but has got a beat onto somebody knocked down on the ground, and I think they're just going to try and chase down the remaining 2 members of what may be BDS.
That's huge. If they can take BDS out, that would be killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Now, there's going to be IPN slowing things down. They don't want to overrush this. Hakis, though, will be able to get the knock on InStyle. That's another team coming in. But they will be able to get the wipe here. Have to back off. IPN goes down. Psychop with the devotion. Surprise devotion comes out. And now Wipes, things have been turned on their head. Turns around with the EVA 8. No. And he will get finished off. BDS survive into that. Now, Psychop gonna be able to breathe a sigh of relief as we swap off onto AHG, who are trying to play this position. We saw them do this during ALGS this weekend, and it was exactly the same position and almost the same ring.
Oh, I didn't even realize Psychop was still in this fight. There's a lot of loot for him to choose from here, but at this point, as the one remaining member of his team who has the beacons, you've got a couple of options here. You can try and get the res, and I don't think at this level, with this many squads in the game, that is likely. But really, you just want to see him try and survive and get a few more points and try and secure at least a top 3 position for the rest of the team, because without the other 2 players, it's going to be incredibly tricky to get anything done. You've just got to rat it out at that point.
There is a team in his way, the closest respawn beacon. There's still one active that they can get into. Currently, and it's to the east, or well, the eastern side of the ring, western side of Skyhook, but still, There is one that he could try to get to, but I don't think it's going to be possible at this point. The two teams standing in his way right now. On board with Myth, though. Exposed Sharp and Amaz here controlling one of the diners on the western side of Skyhook. Swapping over the Purge. They're still holding this high ground here.
Yeah, they've been here a while. I guess, again, there's not really any pressure for them to move just yet. I still don't think they're particularly well kitted out. You know, we've got the white armor on someone, level 2 Evo shield for ASCII. You know, any suitably kitted out team, unless they just out-mechanic them to the nth degree, is going to come and wipe these guys off the map. And I'd love to see a quick rotation from them to maybe pick up something a little more useful. But given where they are and the sight lines available for trials and for train yard, I think it's unlikely there's anywhere they can really go. So these guys really trapped between a rock and a hard place.
Given a moment's time, once the round finishes closing, we see the next ring. There's a huge opportunity, though, for them to be able to play this position and play it for a lot of kill points. And currently Purge, of course, sitting at 4th. They not only need to finish high, they also need a good number of kills. 6 points, 9 points behind BDS.
It's a multiple of 3. We've established that much. Yeah.
If I say enough numbers, eventually I'll get it right. But that's kind of interesting. I would say my mind already works in multiples of 3, so that's confirming it at that point.
There we go. We've got it all lined up, guys. We've figured out Jameson's system. Back on board with Hexagon, who we've not really seen too much of so far today. They've not been really posting numbers, and I don't even think we've seen them that much on the broadcast.
But the important thing is that that's also a multiple of 3 that we're working with, so this pleases me.
It's all coming together, and soon to be published in Jameson's book, The Power of 3.
I was thinking about that, but I didn't want to make a Charmed reference.
Oh,
and out
myself.
I wasn't.
Oh, we can talk about Charmed after the broadcast. Oh, I didn't realize I was with a kindred spirit. And Dennis is going to be taking a lot of damage there. Has to pop out and will heal the shield up. But they've got a nice defensible position here.
They do have to push in, though, and they've got to come up with some plan right now, which is going to be difficult. We always know that Trials generally has one team on top of it and one team lower. Actually, right now, it looks like lower side of Trials is wide open. And if they can spot that out, there's an opportunity for them to rotate into that right now. We hopped on board with someone, I don't know who.
Very briefly.
Elitist, there we go.
We didn't have enough time to get attached.
That's probably the best way to handle this.
Yeah.
It is Nook, Kashera, and Horizon here, holding the south side of the ring. And we were talking about, of course, the team that was right above them, Purge. This is their opportunity. They need to pick up kill points here. They need to gatekeep. They need to get involved in these fights.
And boy, someone has really upgraded on that armor. It's just going to be ASCII that's in a bit of a dire position here, but they are now able to play this as you predicted. As we see teams start to rotate towards where this Rhino ring is closing in. They're doing a beautiful job of gatekeeping this here.
The important part is that AHG is off to their west right now, gatekeeping another squad over at Lava Fissure. So it's kind of going to corral that team over to them. And so they're going to have plenty of opportunities to try and get these points right now. ASCII spotting out one.
That's right, but again, maybe I shouldn't keep coming back to it. ASCII's really kind of struggling there, and I don't think they really want anybody in over the top of them. But back on board with North and Taishin, still running the lifeline here and still clearly finding some value with it.
This is exactly what I was talking about. AHG have been holding them off, and so they're going to go and push this eastern edge here right into Purge. As they turn the corner, RPR is not going to be happy with what he sees.
No, particularly running face first into a wall of damage like that. Ring's closing in behind them, and we've already got Mandy knocked down. This is not great for North.
It wasn't even Purge that ended up taking them out here. Kaishin pushing forward on that lifeline. Barely survives, but again, sliver of HP. He will go down. And it is Purge cleaning that up. They didn't get as many kills as they probably wanted here, but now they've got to watch their back. This might be AHG in front of them right now. ASCII with the Spitfire doing decent damage, but now It still sounds like a Gibraltar ultimate coming down. He is going to be able to swing through it, but Tafe is the one that takes him out. Someone will fall, and now it's all up to Case Swinney here. He only has 25 HP on him, but he will fall. AHG finally able to pick up some kill points there. They've been holding that angle the entire time. Their prey got away from them to their east, but they were able to feast just a little bit there.
Great advantage here for Sharp. Will have the digital threat there, much easier to pick people out of in the distance. And the spray down he was getting there with the R99 was kind of fantastic. They've got a great position here. They've got some tools to work with. They've got some resources tucked away in those lunch boxes down there. And until the ring starts to push them forward, they don't really have the need to close the distance. Nice bit of damage in over the top of the Pamphlet team, though.
Yeah, this is a great position, but again, we're seeing that the ring is pulling away from a lot of our squads right now. Going over to the clearing to the northwest of Trials here, but upper Trials and, well, Trials proper is all still in, so two squads can play that comfortably right now. We'll see if Myth can try to get in here. It's going to be difficult for them. If they start pushing out east, there is that tower high ground that they have to worry about getting shot from here. But again, they're still contesting with, of course, this team inside the house.
And not just inside the house, I believe off in the distance and over into the east as well. So they're going to find themselves very quickly pinned down here. They will have the Wraith portal and also the cover of the train, which is great timing for these guys. They can spend a little more time out in the open, and now they can Wraith portal into safety into this waiting caravan.
They recognized that the team gave up the caravan, went up onto the hill, and so they were able to just go ahead and port forward. They still have their back to deal with right now, and it looks like they might just be fully setting up. As Oxbow goes for the peek, don't know how much damage he did. We do see purple Evos coming out. They're stuck in that corner. G7 Scout doing massive damage as Oxbow and Sharp are going to be able to pick up two. Hexa going down. And it looks like that might be the final battle for them. Still have to clear the back though. Wraith right on top of them. That's the spray down. OG will get finished off. Now we're down to 7 squads, 18 players remaining as Amaz will finish off Madison.
Yeah, guys, don't blink for too long because 7 squads left in a ring this size. Not a huge amount of cover left for anybody. This is going to go south incredibly quickly. AHG looking very well kitted out for this next fight. Zipef with the G7 Scout and the Mastiff. Maybe Zipef is finally going to break the curse of the Mastiff from this evening and be able to get some work done with it. It has to push in onto this high ground position and this incredibly well fortified high ground position. So this is a very rough position, despite how well kitted out you might be. To try and take this high ground position is incredibly difficult because as well as the people up on the high ground, you've got to assume everybody is watching that drill site, yeah? You are not going to be given any space to close the distance.
Seems like Cooler and Myth in a fight here on the northeast edge. Could swap off to either of them, Team 14 or Team 9, as it's going to be Oxbow getting that first knock in this engagement. Mastiff comes out, getting decent damage off 70. Isn't enough to finish him off. It's all up to Roe here, but Roe has given it up. He's going to play for placement, backing off now. And that's going to be Jules and Sign out of this game. Roe, we'll see. He's already in circle, but now he's got to try and hold off Myth by himself to the north.
Yeah, to be honest, I wouldn't want to be trying to hold off Myth even if I was a full squad of 3. They're very well set up for this fight, and trying to hold off against 6 squads in a space this small is very difficult. That's a beautiful little alley-oop from Mady on the grapple. High ground position, complete coverage.
I was about to say, we saw this position coming out from this exact team. Triumph were able to hold out onto this. We had a little bit of a different circle, but they're going to be able to just fire freely here. This is just the firing range for Triumph. They're picking up kill after kill. Zipith going down. They got the nades here. Watson Jenny, they have to clear, but they're going to go ahead and push on in. Mady not connecting quite yet, but Sharp is there. Pick up some. Graceful goes down to that Mastiff of space, but Mady is still alive. With the R99 will finish him off, but they got to get this rest quickly. Going back up onto the high ground, it looks like Graceful is not going to be able to survive here, still on the low ground.
No, with 4 squads left and such a small ring, you really don't have the time or the space to get the res in. You've just got to take the advantageous position and trust that you can carry the 2v however many people are left in the game. That was a very impressive, aggressive display from
Yeah, it's a 3v2v1v1 right now. Cooler and Nighty currently as the solos for their teams. Triumph's Mayday and JMW, of course, as a duo, but it's Myth as a full 3 right now. They have a position, this rock, that they can use to try and control a lot of the teams coming in. I want to kind of see them wrap around to their right, play the north side a little bit more, where they'll have a little bit more time, because that is the slowest side of the circle. They'll be under a lot less pressure there. We'll see exactly how they approach this. The tower isn't in either, so Alliance now under a lot of pressure.
That's right, and Myth on the low ground with the rocks to hide behind here, probably in one of the better positions as the ring starts to close in. They can afford almost to spend a little bit of time just gatekeeping the top of the tower, watching for the rotation coming through. Although they've got to be careful because the ring is right behind them. You see the defensive bombardment come in from Sharp as well, and the Gibraltar.
I'm going to say that's a little bit early coming out from them with that Gibraltar dome now. Of course, along with that defensive bombardment. EP spots him out. But JMW picks up one. Maz, though, will bring down that duo. Never mind. Oxbow is the one that finishes it all off. And they will be able to take that win. Myth with a huge game. But I don't know if it's going to be enough to put them into the top 3. Remember, it's only the top 3 that will be placing into the money here for the Esports Arena Apex Legends EU Weekly.
That's right, and it looks like BDS probably didn't do enough in that round to keep hold of their first place. I believe they were out something like 16th or 17th, and I don't remember seeing any kills to their name, or if there were, not the sort of standout numbers they would have needed to cope with finishing so low in the game. So we may see them dethroned here. We could have, Jameson, a fourth game upset as a couple of people move up the ladder and dethrone BDS. Just got to wait for those numbers to come through before we can start checking all this out.
Yeah, so, but let's talk about this match at the very least. And so, Myth finishing off first with great position, picked up a lot of kills in that game, 11 kill points going their way, so they'll be putting on 23 to their 4 that they had beforehand, pumping them up to 27 points, puts them, well, I guess, non-updated, around 3rd or 4th place. And so that's going to be interesting. And hopefully someone grabbed that screenshot. I did not grab that screenshot. Now I can't even talk about it anymore. One thing to note that Triumph, of course, were also there in the top 3. I didn't see exactly how many kills they had for that.
5 kills.
5 kills. Okay. I don't think that they're able to overtake BDS because I know we saw a Psychop fighting with that Devotion earlier, picking up a number of kills there. We're going to go ahead and take a short break while our admins tabulate the results because we can no longer talk about it. It's off our screens. So we'll be right back. And when we do come back, it'll be, of course, with the results. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.
The past 4 years at Esports Arena, we really didn't know what our identity was. We tried our pro tournaments. We tried running content pieces. We tried doing music events. We had our memberships. We realized that the community just always kept coming back for our local tournament for every Wednesday night, every Friday night, every Thursday night. So then it hit us. Series E is going to revolutionize the esports industry. You as a competitor now have consistency to come and compete. You get to keep coming back and let it count for something. That opportunity to get paid by Esports Arena, to get paid by a major brand that's helping support this league, this foundation, because so many times the dollars stop at the pro level. They stop there. They never trickle down to the guys like us, the guys that had the dreams, that wanted to make it, to become a pro, but never had that opportunity because they lived in somewhere in Alaska or somewhere in Idaho. No offense, Idaho, I like you guys, you're still cool, potatoes. But when you don't have that opportunity, like a guy who's from LA or a girl who's from LA or New York or these major cities that have esports tournaments that go all the time, Where can you start? Where do you go? Where do you become a pro? How can you do that? How do you get paid? How do you get noticed? How do you get recognized? It doesn't exist. There's not a clear path there. It's a randomized system. You got to be good. Don't get me wrong. You've got to be good and you got to compete. You got to play. But it's hard when you got a full-time job and you got a full-time student. You got bills to pay. You can't commit yourself 100% to esports. Esports Arena wants to change that. We are going to change that. You're going to get $1,000 a month in pay from Esports Arena. We're going to travel you across the country to compete against other people just like you. That's the feeling that I'm looking at that 8-year-old and I'm thinking, man, this person could become a professional gamer, but how? Now they're going to start their path at Esports Arena and they're going to compete to become that next pro, to become that next influencer, to become that next superstar. They're going to start at Esports Arena. That's what Series E is all about. Opportunity for everyone to be your first step in esports.
Welcome back, guys. And we do have the final results for the Esports Arena EU Weekly. And boy, is it spicy, to say the least. Phil, why don't you go ahead and do the honors?
Well, hey, you know how at the end of the last section I was saying, I don't know if BDS have done enough to hold on to first place. Well, they did it. They did it by 1 point, and they did it by Psychop absolutely fragging his mind out with 5 kills in the final round, putting BDS Esport at top with 41 points. A close second is going to go to Ad Hoc Gaming at 40. And third and fourth is where it gets a little spicier again. Triumph Gaming and North, both on a scoreline of 35 points apiece. And at that point, it goes to a tiebreaker for the most damage done. And North edged that out by a solid 4K damage done, over and above Triumph Gaming for that third place spot. So that's going to be our top 3. And BDS, with that incredible first round run, are able to hold on to it all the way through all 4 games. What a display, Jameson.
Yeah, congratulations. And it really does come down to Psychop with that surprise devotion, turning really turning the tables on Alliance, right? Alliance was trying to go for that miracle game 4, frag the entire lobby play, but they were thwarted by the devotion. Heck, he even survived the third party that was coming in, I believe, by Nasky, Otter, and in style. So very lucky to be able to survive that, and especially making it into the top placements. Remember, 12th through 15th only gets you 1 point. And so surviving for that long, that 1 extra point, Azarat was able to secure them this win. So they'll be the winners, of course, walking away with $500 this week. Ad Hoc Gaming taking second, and Triumph coming in third. Oh, excuse me, North coming in third. Oh my gosh, I ruined that. But
don't worry,
yeah,
these guys know before the cast goes out that they've won. We've not debated anybody. You're fine.
Yeah, congratulations, of course, to our 3 teams. Now, I believe we are recording this and we'll be streaming it tomorrow, and so stay tuned because we do have the North American finals taking place. It'll be me and another caster who we'll find out in a few moments. I don't know. The future's kind of weird like that. But Phil, before we leave, do you have any final words before we end the cast?
Play and watch Apex Legends. It's a lot of fun, guys.
All right. You know what? I will go ahead and repeat that. Ditto for me as well. But thank you all for tuning in. From everyone here at Esports Arena, for Phil and myself, thank you all for watching. Stay safe out there, guys. And, well, I guess I'll see you in a few minutes for the North American broadcast. Have a good one.